You've been told that you have to find the perfect business model, and that's caused some doubts in your life. Even though, yeah, sure, you've made some money, it's still like, maybe this should feel more perfect. Maybe I should feel more motivated when I wake up. Well, what if it's not about what you're doing, but it's about who you're becoming and how you're doing that? I've been able to accomplish being able to master how I do things and who I'm becoming over the last 2 years of online coaching and online partnering, being able to close $150,000 in online sales for myself and my business partners. So by the end of this video, I'm going to show you why you're still stuck without selling you on some specific get-rich-quick business model that every other guru is trying to sell you on. Giving you a clear roadmap to being able to make it so you don't have to keep switching up your business model or feeling like you have to change up your offer because it's not purposeful enough for you. Chapter number 1, the reason. So most entrepreneurs get stuck because they think it's about the model. But the truth is that there's never going to be a specific model that's going to save you. Think about it like this. You got your brain. And even if there's this seemingly perfect model to someone else, what might end up happening for you is that you see this model as not good. So you got you right here. And whatever model you're doing right now or offer, there's some times where you wake up and you just don't really want to do it. The problem with that is that if we can change how we see this thing, then we can change the state you're in. Not feeling stuck, not chasing some new big novel idea, and instead being able to change the perception of what you're already doing. As the truth is, it's never about the model that you use. It's never about the strategy that you have. And it's never about the tactics that you're trying to implement. It's about who you're becoming and who you are today, and then how you perceive those changes. Because at a subconscious level, we are trying to run away from the pain or the discomfort of change, especially if it's not aligned to who we feel like we are right now and who we identify with. So understand that if you can master the type of person that you, understanding the type of person that you need to be able to execute at any level, then what you can do is become aware of why you perceive things the way they are and why you are doing what you're doing today, as well as what desires you're trying to satisfy. Is it status? Is it attention? Is it power? And to furtherly drive this home, imagine you today were dropped in the NBA. And, well, that would be kind of scary because if you were just dropped into the NBA, you probably don't have the discipline. You definitely don't have the basketball skills to actually be able to play at the level of an NBA player. You'll just be, you'd be the guy at the end of the roster. It's the same thing with your business. You might be in a situation right now where you can't actually see the advantages of the opportunity because you aren't yet the type of person who is able to perceive them. Because if you were just the dude at the end of the roster and I dropped you in today, it'd feel a bit overwhelming, maybe a little stressful because of the fact that sure, you're at a high level, but you don't get to play and you are late to games. You don't have the right nutrition. You don't know how to properly understand the plays and all of these things. So how this relates to business is that right now in your business, you might have either outgrown what you were doing before, or you started to perceive what you do in a negative way because of a subconscious unalignment between who you feel like you are and what you feel like what you do represents. Which leads me right to chapter 2, where we're going to go over how to understand why you are starting to feel unaligned with your business, why it's getting harder to work, even though, yeah, sure, you've made some money before. Chapter 2, the audit. So what we want to audit is our alignment to, number one, what we actually are aligned with today. So this means something as simple as, imagine if you are running. Well, why are you doing it? And how do you get better? So that way you don't end up in a situation where you feel like you want to quit, you never feel like you want to run, or you start to have doubt creeping up on you even if you've ran in the past. Which means that instead of obsessing over the different running training styles and how to get better at running, just like in business, you shouldn't stress over what sales strategy you use or offer to use to scale even further. What you want to do instead is a 3-part alignment process. And I've personally used this and helped my clients use this, and this didn't only help them make way more money, like tens of thousands of dollars. What this also did was made it so their work also felt fun again. It felt easy. And when they sat down, there wasn't this weird resistance, boredom, or lack of motivation to get after their work. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have motivation every day anyways. What that does mean, though, is that you're going to understand why. So the days that are low, the days that you don't have much motivation pushing you forward, you're going to have the awareness to understand why you're going to persist regardless. So, number one, who? Who do I want to become? So instead of asking yourself, again, what sales strategy to use or offer to have the skill, you want to ask yourself, who do I want to become? And then the next thing is, this is a 2-part, it's why. So who and why? Well, why? Well, probably for your vision, because you started off in business for whatever reason. Then what you need to do is ask yourself, what skills and beliefs does that person have that I don't right now? And to really define what a belief and a skill is, look at it like this. A skill is the behavior that you have, your thoughts, words, decisions, and actions. A belief is a perceived truth about the world. And the way those beliefs are formed are through 1, evidence, 2, conditions. So imagine if you go to sit down and take a test and your teacher tells you beforehand you cannot use your notes. And you try to use your notes. She takes away the test, takes away your notes, looks like you can't use them. Then going forward, you're going to believe you can't use them, so you're probably not going to try in this class, and you might not even try in any other classes. Then outside of school, you might not even try to use your resources or notes at all. And to add to this, once you can figure out those things, you got to ask yourself, how are you actually going to develop these? And in other words, what values are you going to hold when developing them? Because the values you hold are just how you do things. And the reason why this is so important is because once you can figure out how you're going to go about these things, you can stay aligned with those and have things in your business represent those values. And it's going to help you develop these skills and beliefs so much quicker. Finally, is what environment do I need to be in to force me to grow? Look at it like this. Imagine if you just had like 3 children, you gotta provide for all of them or you guys are gonna be homeless. You're probably gonna start working and start putting in the input that's necessary. Now that doesn't mean go to that extreme. What this does mean is that it's not about finding the perfect business. It's about defining who do you want to become, why do you want to be that person, and then what skills, beliefs, and values do they hold that you don't. And then finally, is what environment or what conditions gives me the easiest opportunity to develop these skills, beliefs, and values and consistently recondition and reutilize these in my life. And then you've got to ask yourself, what in my business allows me to do that the easiest? Because it's not about finding the perfect business, it's about finding the environment that supports who you're trying to become. Which leads me to chapter 3, the environment. Your environment is like the soil to a plant. If you try to plant a plant in a landfill, well, it's just going to be a bunch of trash. It's probably not going to grow. And even when it does, it's going to be, if it does, it's going to be much harder to take in more nutrients, get the right inputs, and actually continue to grow. So even the best seed, even the best foundation, or the best business isn't going to grow with the right inputs in the right environment. So if you're plateauing in your business, or you're just not making as much as you would like to make, it's probably because you're in an environment that's keeping you stuck in your old patterns, not pushing you to evolve. And not all the time it's about actually what's around you, but it's about how you look at it, like I mentioned earlier. So like, for example, when I first got into business, it wasn't, I'm not even in the business model I'm in right now. I first just started selling candy at school, and then I was reselling products online. This was going into late 2022. And what I realized is it helped me develop discipline and honesty and a strong work ethic. And it led me down a certain path that allowed me to be able to continue to grow past that point. It wasn't about the business model itself. It was about who I was becoming and what I was actively pursuing at that time. So understand that it's all about how you perceive it, because not all the time can we change exactly where we are. Like, for example, I'm going out to Bali this summer. I couldn't do that. Like, I didn't have any money to be able to afford $1,000 for a plane ticket, or how much ever it'll be, randomly, in the summer, like a year or 2 years ago. Or I might have had a little bit, but that would have been a lot to me. So with that being said, it's not always about like what's around us, like the room that we're in, but sometimes it just comes down to how we perceive it. If we perceive this thing, in other words, if we make the connection that this room means bad, or it means certain habits, or it means a certain lifestyle or a certain identity, then we're going to continue to act in alignment of that. But if we can identify what this is and why we have this perception of our environment in the first place, then we're going to be able to execute so much more and actually develop the identity of the type of person that we're trying to become, which leads me right to chapter 4. Chapter 4, the reflection. So you actually need to reflect on who you are right now and the perception you have of these different things. Well, how you do that is actually really simple. I just use weekly ChatGPT and a journal sometimes to keep myself kind of in check. And the way I do this is, first I'll ask, am I aligned with my why? And what I mean by this is, do I feel that I am actively reaching towards why I started these things in the first place? Why I wanted to become that person? Or am I gearing towards something else? If so, I'll dig deeper. Because whenever you find these disconnections, whenever you find these discrepancies, you want to dig deeper on that problem and tie that back to what in your life or what inputs caused that issue. Next thing, am I growing the skills and beliefs that are necessary to continue to grow in this opportunity that I'm in right now? What I mean by this is, it's not just, oh, let me get better at sales because I'm taking sales calls. It's not just, let me get better at outreach so I can start booking more than 10 calls a month and closing more than 3 or 4 of them. It's at a deeper level. What do you believe about yourself, and have you been reconditioning these things? And what skills are actually necessary for you to be able to be that person? Because instead of focusing on just the end outcome, the result of how much ever money you want to make, we can focus on actively what behaviors are we doing right now to bring satisfaction to us and in our life. Because of the fact that, interestingly enough, even if you don't believe this, you can create the meaning and you can create the why of the environment around you just based off of changing the perception of how you view things. Now, that's harder done than said. With that in mind, though, is that at least if you are aware of how you perceive these things, then you can take active steps to change things around you to more benefit your ability to continue to progress. And sometimes you can change the perception you have of these things so that way you can continue to progress. Finally, am I stuck in old patterns which are inhibiting my ability to continue to execute and resulting in me overthinking? And what I mean by this is old patterns and those old perceptions that you had. So if before every time you sat down to work, you felt a dread, a boredom, a resistance, and you indulged into that thought and into that feeling, if you knew that was an old pattern of yours, and you know there's a belief to counteract that, you gotta ask yourself, am I indulging into the old pattern, or am I reconditioning the new belief? Now, with that being said, reflection doesn't mean pausing action. Don't take a ton of time to do this because, dude, you're not going to have anything to reflect on if you do. So instead, what you're going to want to do is spend time reflecting over this for maybe just a couple hours. And then practically implement and take steps. Like you can use ChatGPT to ask it, okay, what are some steps I can take to remove this old pattern and strengthen these new beliefs? And you can say, be detailed. And by having that sort of critical thinking ability to understand that you can utilize these resources to your advantage, it's going to help you grow so much more. And then you're going to actually implement it so you can focus on doing the work. Because you can't just find the satisfaction from the reflection itself. Do the work, and regardless of the outcome, you can then bring that satisfaction tied to who you are and what you're doing today. Because I can say from personal experience that a lot of the time, like I've scaled to 8, 9, 10K a month collected and 30, 40K a month across different partnerships and revenue, and yet right now there's still a higher level of peace and calmness, although I'm not at that level exactly. With that being said, I know that I'm about to break that and go way higher just going into next month because of what I already have set up. But that's because it's been derived from my ability to not only be present, but attach the values that I hold to what I do today and how I progress in my character. As that's the real reason you're stuck, because you continue to perceive things around you and yourself in these negative lights. If you can change that perception, start developing these skills and beliefs that are aligned with new, more positive behaviors and patterns, then you're going to feel aligned to your business again, allowing you to actually thrive in it and align it with your values rather than satisfying your values in other regards and having doubts about your business even though you've already made money from it. If you want a little more help with reflecting and getting a better idea of how to implement all this stuff, just click the top link in the description, follow me on Instagram and DM me and let me know you watched this video, and then I'm totally down to help you out for free. Just let me know and I got you. Peace.